So at Campaign for Liberty, we strive to educate and entertain, but also to inform. And sometimes information can be a little bit uncomfortable. So if you end up feeling a little bit uncomfortable at the end of this, that's okay. That's okay. So last month we had a gentleman here who suggested that we begin the meeting by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And the response was, well, we would do that if it aligned with our principles. And so this month I decided to go over the difference in principles between the Pledge of Allegiance and the Declaration of Independence. And I hope everyone finds it interesting. So I'd like to start off by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance as it was written in 1892. I pledge allegiance to my flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this was the Pledge of Allegiance as written in 1892 by a gentleman named Francis Bellamy. So, who was Francis Bellamy? He was an ousted Baptist minister. He was a pastor for his church, and he was thrown out after his beliefs became to be too radical for his congregation. And the reason why his beliefs were too radical for his congregation was he was a Christian socialist. And a Christian socialist is someone who interprets the Bible in a way that they propose that Jesus would lead you towards a socialist life, a life of living in a community and without competition, sharing things amongst one another. He was also, and I apologize for this. The declaration and the flag were supposed to be muted in the background with some translucency. So I'll read what it says. He was also the cousin of Edward Bellamy, who wrote the third most popular book in the 1800s. Behind the number one was Uncle Tom's Cabin. And he wrote a book called Looking Backward, 2000 to 1887. It's a socialist utopian novel of a gentleman who falls asleep in 1887 and then wakes up in the year 2000, and he looks around and he sees that the capitalist structure that was very popular. If you know anything about American history, you'll recognize that that period in the late 1800s was called the Gilded Age, and this was the age of Carnegie Steel, of Standard Oil, of railroads, led by Cornelius Vanderbilt, was a primary railroad magnate, and there was a group of people in that time who were extremely wealthy, and there was a lot of people who were opposed to that. They thought that this small amassment of wealth was bad for the country. So Francis Bellamy's cousin Edward wrote this book really in opposition to that. And I think he also looks a little bit like Albert E. Newman. Anybody see the resemblance? So, when was the pledge first published? It first appeared in a magazine called the Youth's Companion. It was a popular children's magazine of the time, probably the most widely subscribed magazine of the time. And it was in support of the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus discovering America. And here's a picture of that magazine here. There was a lot of pride in the time about celebrating the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. And there's a lot of people that wanted to celebrate that, and they wanted to tie in the American flag into this. So why was the pledge written? It was written because in the late 1800s there was a perceived problem with immigration. It seems that nothing has really changed. But prior to the late 1800s, there were a lot of most of the immigrants were from Western Europe. I'm talking about England and Ireland and Scotland and Germany. That's primarily where most of the people came from that were immigrating in the United States. And in the late 1800s, we started to see a lot of Polish people start to immigrate into the U.S. and also Italians. And these people were they had a foreign culture to the Western European people that had previously populated the United States. And the concern of the people who were already here was that there was going to be an erosion of American culture. So what did they do? But they decided that they needed to assimilate these immigrants into the ways of being an American. So the primary target of that was the children of the immigrants who were going to public schools. The way they wanted to do that was they wanted to promote nationalism in public schools through having the children raise money to put flags in the classrooms. And they wanted to have a flag in every school, so that these new young immigrant kids who were young and impressionable could look up to the flag and have a source of pride. That's what they wanted to do. So the end goal was to have every child educated in a public school pledge allegiance to the Republic of the United States. And here is what I wanted to have in slide number 2, but it didn't show up. So this is a good time to pause here. Does anybody know? You'll notice that there's a couple of things missing in here. Does anybody notice what's missing?
And God we trust.
United States of America.
The United States of America is missing, yes.
Under God.
And under God. Does anybody know what group promoted that under God end up in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yes, Jim.
The Michigan Knights of Columbus.
That is absolutely correct, Jim. Absolutely correct. It was the Knights of
What
Columbus.
did the guy with the Knights of Columbus jacket on?
Is that where you have to?
Came in handy.
Is that why you came?
No.
No? No. I was hoping I could take credit of drawing you in here today. Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say something because my brother taught me that salute. I called it Bellamy.
Yes.
I didn't know how to say it.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And I'm not even sure that's true.
That is referred to as the Bellamy Salute.
Okay, I
Yes,
thought
the
I was
Bellamy
saying it
Salute.
wrong since I was a kid. That was in the early 80s. And we used to make fun of it. We would go like this.
Yes.
And my brother, he was 8 years older than me. And I was like, 4 years old when I started doing it, 3, 4 years old. I was just like, it was a joke. We'd go like this and then go, don't ask. But when I got into school, they were like, I remember them talking to me like, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to put your hand on your heart. And I had no comprehension of what that meant. Because I was like, what am I pledging to? I don't really get it. Sorry. So I didn't get it. I just wanted to.
But yeah, that's absolutely correct. It is referred to as the Bellamy Salute. It started with the military salute and ended up with the palm was supposed to be raised upward. However, if you look at historical pictures, you'll see that you'll find as much of this as this as this. The children really didn't see the difference. So, what does the pledge ask us to do? And this is really the getting into the core of my presentation here. Does the pledge align with the beliefs of the founders of our country? So the first thing it does is it asks us to commit our loyalty to the United States and its symbol, the flag. And concur that the United States is one nation and acknowledge that the United States is indivisible. And it did our founders agree with that? So we'll start from the bottom. Acknowledge that the United States is indivisible. And I'm really sorry this isn't legible. It was when I wrote it. But the United States is most certainly not indivisible. There's nothing in the Constitution that prevents a state from leaving the Union. Exactly the founder of the Republican Party.
Well, his first president.
The Republican Party's first president. So in our country's most foundational document, the Declaration of Independence formally dissolved the colony's ties with Great Britain and established them as the United States of America. So you can't really read this here, but the word united here is the letter U in united is small. United States was not a proper noun at the time. And the same document declares the colonies to be free and independent states. So the important thing that I want to say here is that the states existed prior to the United States. The states came together and formed the United States through the Constitution. And in Virginia's ratification of the Constitution, its delegates said that the powers granted under the Constitution, being derived from the people of the United States, may be resumed by them, meaning revoked, by them whensoever the same shall be perverted to their injury or oppression. The powers given to the federal government by the states are reserved by the states and can be revoked by them. Key to the foundation of our country. So the United States is most certainly not indivisible. And in summary, the notion that a government is indivisible robs the people of their last defense against tyranny, which is secession. So the second item is the pledge asks us to concur that the United States is one nation. But the United States Constitution is an agreement among several sovereign states. In the Federalist Papers number 45, James Madison wrote that the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined, to which those which are to remain in the states' governments are numerous and indefinite. So we delegated few and specific powers to the federal government. And also Thomas Jefferson wrote in a letter to Edward Carrington, a statesman in the state of Virginia, my general plan would be to make the states one as to everything connected with foreign nations, and several as to everything purely domestic. So the purpose of the Constitution in the vision of the founders was that we form the federal government to represent the states in foreign affairs and to provide for the common defense, not to create a new nation to usurp the powers of the states. And that's a primary belief of the 10th Amendment Center.
Absolutely.
And we have the leader of the Michigan 10th Amendment Center here tonight, Shane Trejo.
Howdy.
So the last thing it asks us to do is commit our loyalty to the United States and its symbol, the flag. And should our loyalty rightly lie with the United States or the principles to which it was founded? It's one thing to swear support to the principles of limited government and individual liberty. And I say that it's something completely different to swear to support the government blindly. I just take issue with that. I wouldn't find myself swearing support to the government. I can swear support to principles on which a government's founded, but to just say that I support the government, no holds barred, that's dangerous to me. So, in closing, the Pledge of Allegiance is not simply misleading, but it's factually inaccurate. The pledge asks us to swear our allegiance to a government entity, but it doesn't say anything about the principles on which our states were founded. And the pledge opposes the framers who believe that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. And that's from the Declaration of Independence. So I say that when you compare the Declaration of Independence and the Pledge of Allegiance, you can't believe in both. You have to pick one. And that's the title of my presentation here today. So, and that's all I have for this.